Meanwhile, Palestinian anger is evident on the streets with riots in Gaza, the West Bank and Jerusalem, but there could be a silver lining. Simmering anger in the Palestinian territories over Donald Trump's move on Jerusalem blew up into confrontations with Israeli police in the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, and of course the Holy City. Palestinian mobs threw homemade Molotov cocktails and rocks as Israeli police retaliated with tear gas. The Palestinian Red Crescent reported more than 80 injured when Israeli police fired rubber bullets. 3 others sustained more serious injuries when hit by live bullets. The riots have led to 4 Palestinian deaths so far. Nearly 500 people, including women and minors, have been arrested by Israeli police. The violence is expected to escalate on Friday, the traditional day of prayer for Muslims.
We call on our Arabic and Muslim nations to surround the Israeli and American embassies in Arab countries, then drive the American and Israeli ambassadors out. We will use every kind of resistance to break this decision.
Israel has reported at least 24 rocket attacks from Gaza on its southern settlements. Clearly, the Palestinian-Israeli peace process is dead, but the Israelis believe it is dead only for now. They say Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has no alternative to the US. It explains his continued tough stance on Hamas and refusal to abandon diplomacy with Israel. Bureau Report, WION. And the US Ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, is addressing the Assembly. Let's listen in.
Standing here today, being forced to defend sovereignty and the integrity of my country, the United States of America, many of the same thoughts have come to mind. The United States is by far the single largest contributor to the United Nations and its agencies. We do this in part in order to advance our values and our interests. When that happens, our participation in the UN produces great good for the world. Together, we feed, clothe, and educate desperate people. We nurture and sustain fragile peace in conflict areas throughout the world. And we hold outlaw regimes accountable. We do this because it represents who we are. It is our American way. But we'll be honest with you. When we make generous contributions to the UN, we also have a legitimate expectation that our goodwill is recognized and respected. When a nation is singled out for attack in this organization, that nation is disrespected. What's more, that nation is asked to pay for the privilege of being disrespected. In the case of the United States, we are asked to pay more than anyone else for that dubious privilege. Unlike in some UN member countries, the United States government is answerable to its people. As such, we have an obligation to acknowledge when our political and financial capital is being poorly spent. We have an obligation to demand more for our investment. And if our investment fails, we have an obligation to spend our resources in more productive ways. Those are the thoughts that come to mind when we consider the resolution before us today. The arguments about the President's decision to move the American embassy to Jerusalem have already been made. They are by now well known. The decision was in accordance to U.S. law dating back to 1995, and its position has been repeatedly endorsed by the American people ever since. The decision does not prejudge any final status issues, including Jerusalem's boundaries. The decision does not preclude a two-state solution if the parties agree to that.